the end of an era for almost 20 years, football had for kings. Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar Jr., Luka Modric, different countries, different personalities, different stories, but they all achieved something only a handful of athletes in history ever could. They became more than football players, they became global brands. Millions of children wanted to play like them. Companies wanted to advertise with them. Governments welcomed them. Stadiums sold out because of them, and every time they stepped onto the pitch, the world stopped watching everything else. But today, something has changed. The World Cup has ended. A generation is slowly walking away from the biggest stage in football. For many fans, this feels like the end. But what if this isn't actually the end at all? What if the biggest competition of their lives has only just begun? Not for trophies, not for goals, not even for Ballon d'Or awards. This time, the competition is about business, about investments, about global influence, and about building an empire that could last for decades after football. Because history tells us something very interesting. Many football legends become poorer after retirement. The weekly salary disappears, the match bonuses stop, the sponsorship deals become smaller, public attention slowly fades away, some athletes lose millions. Others completely disappear from the business world, but this generation is different. Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Modric, unlike many legends before them, they started building businesses while they were still playing, and that may become the smartest decision of their entire careers. But here's the question almost nobody is asking. Which one of them is actually prepared for life after football? Most people immediately answer, Cristiano Ronaldo. After all, he has hotels, fashion brands, fitness businesses, luxury products, one of the biggest social media audiences on earth. Everything seems perfect, but is it really? Because having the biggest brand doesn't always mean having the strongest financial future, and later in this documentary, you'll discover why. Then there's Lionel Messi, a man who rarely chases attention. Unlike Ronaldo, Messi built his commercial empire quietly, carefully, patiently. His partnerships have always focused on long-term value instead of short-term headlines. Many experts believe that strategy could protect his wealth long after retirement. But there's one decision Messi made in recent years that completely changed his financial future. We'll reveal that soon. Then comes Neymar, perhaps the most unpredictable superstar football has ever seen. Few players have attracted as much global attention. Few players have signed as many commercial partnerships, and yet his financial future may be the hardest to predict. Some analysts believe Neymar still has enormous business potential. Others believe he missed opportunities that may never return. Who's right? We'll break that down later. And finally, Luka Modric, probably the quietest legend on this list. He rarely appears in business headlines. He doesn't chase publicity. He doesn't build his image around luxury, which is exactly why his story might surprise you more than anyone else's. Because sometimes the smartest financial strategy is the one nobody notices. But before we compare their futures, we need to answer one important question. How much of their wealth actually comes from football, and how much comes from everything outside the game? Because that's where the real story begins. And the answer might completely change the way you look at these four legends forever. In the next chapter, we start with the man many believe is already preparing for life after football better than anyone else, Cristiano Ronaldo. But is he really the safest financial bet? Or is there something hiding beneath the surface? Let's find out.
Cristiano Ronaldo, the business empire. There is one football player the world expects to succeed after retirement. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. But here's the surprising part. Many people only see the surface. They see the goals. The trophies, the celebrations, the private jets, the luxury lifestyle. But behind all of that, Cristiano Ronaldo has spent years building something much bigger than a football career. He has been building a business empire. Long before retirement became a real conversation, Ronaldo understood something most athletes don't. Football doesn't last forever. Business can. Today, his name is no longer just associated with football. It represents hotels. Fitness. Fashion. Fragrances. Digital media. Global sponsorships. And one of the strongest personal brands in the history of sport. Every social media post reaches hundreds of millions of people. That audience alone has enormous commercial value. For global companies, Ronaldo isn't just an athlete, he's a marketing platform. That's why some of the world's biggest brands continue working with him year after year, even if he never kicked another football again. his influence would still generate attention. And attention creates business. But here's where the story becomes interesting. Having many businesses doesn't automatically guarantee long-term success. Every business requires management. Investment. Innovation. Competition never stops. Consumer habits change. Markets change. Technology changes. The question isn't whether Ronaldo has businesses. The real question is, can those businesses continue growing without football? Some experts believe the answer is yes. His global recognition is almost unmatched. His discipline has become part of his brand. People don't only buy products connected to Ronaldo. They buy the lifestyle, the mindset, the ambition, the image of success. And that's incredibly powerful. But there are also risks. As time passes, new football superstars will attract younger audiences. New brands will compete for attention. The next generation of fans may build emotional connections with different players. Remaining globally relevant after retirement is never easy. History has shown that fame naturally fades. Unless you continue creating value outside your original career. That may become Ronaldo's biggest challenge. Not replacing football. But replacing relevance. Fortunately for him, he appears to have been preparing for exactly that. His investments suggest long-term thinking, rather than short-term profits. His business decisions often focus on expanding his name beyond sport, and perhaps that's why many analysts believe Ronaldo's income may become more diversified after retirement. Even if his football salary disappears. Could his total yearly income eventually become lower than during his playing career? Possibly. Could his overall wealth continue growing through business? That's also possible, and that's exactly why Ronaldo's future remains one of the most fascinating financial stories in football history. But while Ronaldo built his empire loudly. Another legend built his very differently. Quietly. Carefully. Almost invisibly. And that strategy. May prove just as powerful. Lionel Messi's financial journey is completely different. Let's take a closer look.
Lionel Messi, the silent emperor. Cristiano Ronaldo built his empire in front of the world. Lionel Messi built his almost in silence. And loud announcements. And constant headlines. And need to prove anything. For years, Messi allowed his football to speak louder than his words. And somehow, that quiet approach became one of the strongest brands in sports. While millions focused on his goals, another story was quietly taking shape behind the scenes. A business story. Unlike many athletes, Messi has always been selective. He rarely attached his name to every opportunity. Instead, he focused on long-term partnerships with global companies that matched his image. That strategy helped create something incredibly valuable: trust. For international brands, trust is often worth more than popularity. Because popularity can disappear overnight, trust usually lasts much longer. And perhaps that's exactly why Messi's commercial value has remained remarkably strong throughout his career. But then came one of the biggest decisions of his life: moving to the United States. At first, many people saw it simply as another football transfer. But financially, it may have been much more than that. The American sports market is one of the largest in the world. Global media, international sponsors, new commercial opportunities, and a growing football audience. Suddenly, Messi wasn't just reaching football fans. He was reaching an entirely new business ecosystem. Some analysts believe that decision could continue creating opportunities long after his playing career ends. Not because of football alone, but because of everything surrounding football. Imagine this: football academies, youth development projects, strategic partnerships, global ambassador roles, long-term investments. These are only some of the directions people believe Messi could continue exploring. And unlike active football salaries, those opportunities don't necessarily end after retirement. But here's where things become fascinating. Messi has never built his image around being the loudest. He built it around consistency, humility, excellence. Those qualities make him attractive to companies looking for long-term relationships rather than short-term publicity. That doesn't mean his income will automatically grow forever. Like every retired athlete, he will eventually face new challenges, new generations of football fans, new global stars, new commercial competition. Remaining relevant after retirement requires more than past achievements. It requires continuous evolution. And that's something nobody can predict with certainty. Yet, there's one advantage Messi already possesses: his legacy. Very few athletes leave football with a reputation as strong as his. That reputation itself has enormous value. Sometimes, people don't invest in today's performance. They invest in decades of credibility. And Messi has spent nearly 20 years building exactly that. So, could his yearly football income eventually decrease? Very likely. Could his overall wealth continue growing through business, partnerships, and long-term investments? Many experts believe that's entirely possible. Because for Messi, retirement may simply mean changing the way he creates value, not ending it. But Messi and Ronaldo aren't the only fascinating stories. The next legend may have the biggest unanswered question of them all: a global superstar, a marketing icon, a player who lived under the spotlight almost every day of his career. Neymar Jr. His future may be the most unpredictable, and perhaps the most surprising, of them all.
Neymar, Luka Modric, and the final winner. When people talk about football's biggest global celebrities, one name is impossible to ignore: Neymar Jr. Throughout his career, he became much more than a football player. He became entertainment, fashion, music, social media, and one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet. That popularity attracted some of the world's biggest companies, luxury brands, sportswear giants, technology partnerships, international advertising campaigns. For years, Neymar's image carried enormous commercial value, but popularity is a double-edged sword. The bigger the spotlight, the greater the expectations. Some experts believe Neymar still has enormous business potential after football. Others argue that retirement could reduce part of his commercial influence as younger stars take center stage. Both views have valid arguments. If Neymar continues investing in business, media, and global partnerships, his wealth could continue growing for many years. If not, his financial growth may slow compared with the other legends. His future remains one of football's biggest unanswered questions. Then there is Luka Modric, a completely different story. No constant headlines. No luxury lifestyle dominating social media. No massive marketing campaigns. Yet, sometimes the quietest strategy is the strongest. Throughout his career, Modric built a reputation based on discipline, leadership, professionalism, and respect. Those qualities don't disappear after retirement. They often become even more valuable. Many football legends eventually become coaches, technical directors, club advisors, or mentors for the next generation. Modric has the profile many clubs admire. Whether he chooses coaching, football management, or youth development, his experience alone makes him valuable. His future may never generate the same headlines as Ronaldo or Neymar, but success isn't always measured by attention. Sometimes it's measured by stability. So, after looking at all four legends, who appears to have the strongest financial future? There is no perfect answer, because nobody can predict the future with certainty, but based on today's business foundations, one possible picture begins to appear. Cristiano Ronaldo has built one of the world's strongest athlete brands. Lionel Messi has created exceptional long-term commercial trust. Neymar possesses enormous marketing power if he continues expanding beyond football. Luka Modric offers stability, credibility, and leadership that could open new opportunities after retirement. Each path is different, each strategy is different, and that's exactly what makes this story so fascinating. Football gave them fame, but what they do next will define their legacy in an entirely new way. The next decade won't be decided by goals. It may be decided by ideas, investments, leadership, business, and the ability to adapt after the final whistle. One thing is certain: the game on the pitch eventually ends. The game outside the pitch can last a lifetime. So now, we leave the final question to you. Which football legend do you believe will build the greatest empire after retirement? Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Neymar Jr., or Luka Modric? Tell us your opinion in the comments. And if you enjoy football documentaries built on real research, thoughtful analysis, and future predictions, make sure you subscribe, because this is only the beginning. In our next documentary, we'll dive deep into one football superstar's business empire and reveal why many believe it could outlast his football career. Until then, remember this: football creates legends, but what they build afterward creates history.